And on that note, take it away.
Thank you for that introduction. Hello and good afternoon. I'd like to tell you about the work we've been doing at Burgate on the Collyhurst in the East Irish Sea Basin. First of all, here are some salient facts about the East Irish Sea and the Collyhurst gas potential in no particular order, as they say in Strictly. There are several occurrences of trapped hydrocarbons in the Collyhurst. There have been production tests which have proved movable gas, and as we've been hearing earlier, the current technology is capable of producing from tight sandstones now. We have a regional analysis of well data showing that there's widespread distribution of the reservoir, and there is also widespread distribution of the seal. In-house estimates show an expected contingent resources of 450 BCF for a discovery we've called the Ronaldsway. There's existing infrastructure at present with spare capacity, and these move forwards are involuntary. The onshore terminal Barrow has recently been upgraded, so it's much improved. It's now functioning well, and today it's running at 200 million standard cubic feet a day, so going nicely. This is the general geography of the area. The Morecambe fields and satellites are connected to the Barrow terminal, which you see up to the right there. The existing pipelines are 36-inch lines. The areas in blue, they are the current licenses, with one or two exceptions which have been relinquished now. And existing undeveloped discoveries I have annotated with the gas well symbol. So that's a look at the whole of the area. A look at the stratigraphy. Gas fields in the East Irish Sea produce from the Ormskirk sandstone. As yet, only the onshore Ellswick field, sorry about this, the Ellswick field, over to the east there onshore, produces from the Collyhurst sandstone. It's worth noting that the Collyhurst is time equivalent of the Rotliegend in the southern North Sea, and in the East Irish Sea we do find a similar facies, so we can find Aeolian facies in the Collyhurst in the East Irish Sea. Gas is sourced from the Westphalian and the Hollywell Shale. The reservoirs are the Ormskirk, which is all of the production from the Irish Sea at the moment, and the Collyhurst. There are also sandstones in the Carboniferous, but our focus is on the Collyhurst. Seals are the Mercia mudstone for the Ormskirk, and for the Collyhurst, the seal is the St. Bees evaporite, which has some good thicknesses of halite in it. This slide shows wells used in our in-house study. Most of the wells in the East Irish Sea are drilled, targeted on the Ormskirk sandstone, but early in the history of exploration there were several wells drilled on the Carboniferous targets, and of course these penetrate the Permian section. So in this slide I am showing only the Permian penetrations, and there are 3 offshore wells where gas has been found in the Collyhurst. Up in the very far northwest we see 11225A1, which was drilled by BP. That is now in Manx territory. 11327-2 to the north of Rill. This well produced from the Collyhurst in an open hole test at a rate of 3 million a day. And down in the southwest, annotated the Ronaldsway discovery, the well 110982. This is our main focus. So we've carried out a study, and this is Collyhurst Sandstone Formation. It's the net sandstone contoured at 100 feet intervals. And we see in the northwest a thickening wedge heading for the Isle of Man. And in the south, there are huge thicknesses reaching over 2,000 feet of Collyhurst sandstone. And we note on the license block that the thicknesses increase away from the discovery and down to the southeast. This is the St Bees halite isopack, and we see here, this of course is the top seal for any traps in the Collyhurst, thicknesses ranging from hundreds of feet to more than 1,000 feet. So we have the possibility of substantial accumulations to be trapped. I'd now like to turn to the 110982 well drilled by BG in 1990. This is the composite log, and on this we see in the sandstone interval at the top of the Collyhurst there resistivity of 50 ohm meters, and the mud log over the same interval showed gas of 60,000 parts per million. Now BG in their final well report state that the Collyhurst is undoubtedly gas bearing but immovable. Burgate's view is that the Collyhurst is very low permeability but contains movable gas, and we'll see more detail on this later on, but of course we take note of what Hartshorn and Jeb was saying about the possibility of producing from low permeability sandstones. This is the Ronaldsway gas field. The map is structure in depth on the top Collyhurst, and it's been compiled from 2D seismic data. As yet, there's no 3D seismic over the field at present. Now we see a large-scale fault to the east, and closure to the west is dip and fault closure. To the north it's dip close, to the south dip and fault. The area of closure down to 5150 TVD sub C is 33 square kilometres, and the structural relief is 700 feet. Now here we're showing the Ronaldsway gas field structure as mapped by Chrysor and reported in their P2269 relinquishment report 2020, so just a year ago. The area of closure here is 37 square kilometres, and the structural relief they see is 1,300 feet. So a fair bit larger than the structure as we see it, but nonetheless a substantial structure in the same place. This is an east-west seismic line through the well, and we can see the structure quite clearly. There's a suite of reflectors to the west on the left of the section, by which we can identify the Permian section. You can see that the St. Bees halite stands out quite clearly, and we can follow the sequence up onto the structure. The well tops are annotated, and we can see that they correlate well with the seismic expression. So the seismic is not too bad. We'd always like it to be better, wouldn't we? The map on the left here shows the maximum extent of the field, so going down to 5150 TVD sub C, and this rock volume was used to estimate the maximum case of resources. For the minimum case, we've used the map on the right, taking the first 100 feet, which is down to the base of the sandstone in the well. And this was the minimum case resources. So here we have a table showing the minimum case resources, a most likely case, assuming moderate assumptions about reservoir properties, and the maximum case, assuming a good outcome. The P90 and P10 cases, we have assumed a log normal distribution, and so we see a range of possible resources from 200 to 600 BCF, with a mid case of 450. So I would now like to hand over to my colleague Graham Dean to talk in more detail about petrophysics, field development and project economics.
Thanks, Tim. This is the mud log over the well that Tim mentioned, and you see on the right there the gas readings. So the British Gas calling this well the gas immovable is probably not quite the right term there. And this is the gas column in the well. At the bottom there, the extreme bottom, is the mapped closure, and with the 700-foot column there, with the Collyhurst at the top, and there's gas sands down towards the bottom there in the Carboniferous. So it looks like one big gas column there, 700-foot gas column. And here's a close-up of the Collyhurst section in the well. We think it'll thicken up to the south, and so you'll get a range of facies perhaps, and better facies, so higher permeability. But just look at the red squares there on the logs there, those tiny red squares. The well wasn't cored, but it did have rotary sidewall cores cut on it, so I think they are valid. But the permeabilities are all down at about a millidarcy or so. But on the right is a cross plot which shows the red squares again from the well, but a couple of other Collyhurst wells, and you see you do have the range of permeabilities there. So it could well be better when in the thicker section. But both Chris and Jeb mentioned South Clipper, and this looks very much like an analogue of South Clipper, not just with the permeabilities, but with the way it would be developed potentially as well, and the size of it. It's as big as Clipper South is. It's about 20 kilometres from South Morecambe, where there's compression, or it could go 5 kilometres direct to the terminal in Barrow-in-Furness. It's shallower than South Clipper South, so the well cost would be a bit less, but otherwise it's very much the same. And although British Gas were right to, perhaps it wasn't immovable, but it wasn't economic at the time, but that was before the fracking revolution since 1990, and particularly this Clipper South. Fracking has transformed the world as we know it. Here's an estimate of the potential cost. It'd be very cheap relatively to develop because it's a lot of gas infrastructure there and a lot of electrical stuff around as well, which of course we'll need. And if you look at the pence per therm costs there at the bottom right, it could be developed for as low as 7 pence per therm. If you compare that with the typical development costs for the southern North Sea, they're typically in the 20 to 30 pence per therm range. So that when you add the operating costs as well, gas fields in the southern North Sea are profitable if the gas price is in the 40 to 50 pence a therm range. This Ronaldsway would likely be economic, profitable right down to quite low gas prices. On the left, got an estimate of what the corporation tax would be for different gas prices. I've no idea what the gas price would be in the future. But look, if its gas prices was say 60 pence a therm, then it would pay nearly £1 billion of corporation tax. Tax rate is 30% if the gas price is 2 or 3 pence above your costs, but it goes up to 40% if gas prices go up. If gas price was say 120 pence a therm, it'd be £2 billion of corporation tax, and that would be used to sustain the National Health Service. The best resourced health service in the world is the Norwegian Health Service, which is twice the funding of the National Health Service in this country, and we very generously pay for the Norwegian Health Service in exchange for their gas. We should be funding our own health service better. And Ronaldsway, of course, would provide long-term sustainable economic development in Barrow-in-Furness, which is one of the most deprived towns in England. And it would prolong the length of the gas terminal at Barrow-in-Furness. The gas terminal in Barrow-in-Furness pays very high amounts of business rates, and those business rates are used to provide very much needed social care in the Barrow-in-Furness area. So to summarise, Ronaldsway is all round a very good thing. It's been drilled, it's been mapped, it'll be cheap to develop, and it's big. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we've got time for questions, if there are any. People are racing off to find lunch. It's always the danger of being the last slot before lunch.
Sorry, could you flick back to the previous slide? I was just trying to take in so your license term, when's your drilling decision?
Yeah, the license term we've got until next summer. Phase A is in hand, so we're looking for help to either take it to the drilling stage or we could go into Phase B if it's decided to do 3D seismic. We'd have another 2 years in Phase B for that.
So the base plan is to reprocess the seismic and try and get a partner on to help fund that. Is that?
That's underway. The reprocessing. It's a partner to fund the 3D or to go to the drilling phase. It'd be up to the funder as to whether they want to drill as it is or shoot 3D first. So please get in touch if you want to know more. Yeah.
Good. Well, thank you very much. That's the end of this Southern North Sea and East Irish Sea session, and I hope everyone has a good lunch. Thank you very much.
Thanks.